You're listening to Overdoing It, the Rhode Island Library Podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Overdoing It, where our team of library workers dish about their latest reads, views, and passions, alongside fascinating conversations with local luminaries. I'm your host, Lauren Walker, Director of the Coventry Public Library, and my pronouns are she, her. Let's dive in and see who our guests are today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Khamry Varfley. I am the curator and program manager for the Alcove. I go by she, her, hers pronouns, and I always like to add that I am also an artist, entrepreneur, and librarian.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Strauss, and I'm the founding executive director of the Alcove. I go by she, her pronouns, and I have a background as a librarian and now as a nonprofit and community leader. And we're really excited to be here today.
Excellent. Well, welcome, Amanda and Khamry. A little bit later in the show, we'll talk all about the Alcove. But before we get to that, let's start out, as we always do, with what have you been reading and watching?
So I'm actually on the hunt for my next read, but the last book that I finished was Joy Goddess. It was actually one of the first audiobooks I've listened to in a very long time. So I was listening to it on the commuter rail like every other day. So that was my last read. And it follows the life of Alelia Walker, who is Madam C.J. Walker's daughter. And it is written by Madam C.J. Walker's great, great, great granddaughter. So that was a really good read. And 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Very cool.
And I am reading so many things at once. It was a little hard to choose. And I want to shout out to the lovely Auburn branch of the Cranston Public Library who know me by name and wrangle all of my holds. But right now, I just cracked open Tracy K. Smith's new volume, Fearless, Poetry in Perilous Times, which seems very appropriate for right now. And I'm always working through different romantasy books, but at a fevered pitch.
Oh, that sounds really good too. I am almost finished with Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. It's not a very new book. I think it came out in the early 2000s. And I saw the movie around that time when it first came out. I think I liked the movie, but we're reading this book for my book club, and it is a very strange book. I don't know if either of you have ever read it.
Mm-hmm.
It tells the story of a man. Well, it's told from two different perspectives. So there's the quote unquote hero of the story who is a fictionalized version of the author. His name is literally Jonathan Safran Foer. And then there's Alex, who is a Ukrainian guide who is taking Jonathan on a journey to find his ancestral home. And so the story goes back and forth between Alex narrating their journey and then Jonathan writing, I guess, a very fantastical fictional account of how his family got from this Ukrainian village to America. And so it's magical realism for sure. There's also a lot of really unpleasant things that happen in the book that I don't know if they didn't happen in the movie or if I don't remember them. So I'm definitely going to watch the movie again after I read the book. It's, I would say there are some trigger warnings in there, but I don't know. It's hard to say if I'm enjoying it or not, but I'm almost done. I ran out of audiobook time on Spotify and I only had 40 minutes left. So I just got the physical book and I'm going to buckle down and read the end of it before my book club later this week. So hopefully by the end of it, I like it. So that's where I'm at with what I'm reading. Have you guys been watching anything interesting?
I have I have been listening slash watching this YouTuber named Bailey Sarian. So she does a bunch of series, two of them being Dark History and the other being Murder, Mystery, and Makeup. So if I watch her on YouTube, I get to watch her talk about this and do her makeup. That's her thing. So it's the marriage of all of my favorite things. I'm a horror thriller junkie and also makeup artist. So watching her do that It's like perfect combination of all the things I love. And if I'm listening to her, because she's also on Spotify with her podcast for Dark History, it's like my multitasking podcast. So if I'm cleaning, if I'm driving, that's like my go-to podcast for sure.
Nice.
I'm not watching anything right now, but I am listening to a bunch of things. I listen to music pretty much constantly when I'm not at work. And right now I have on repeat Florence and the Machine's new album, Everybody Scream, which is just like delightful and amazing. And like I listen to it mainly really loud when I'm driving. So if you see me coming, like watch out. And I'm also listening heavily to Mercedes Sosa right now because her music always really moves me, especially in tumultuous times and thinking about kind of really powerful ballads that give me hope and inspiration. And I've been tuning into a few podcasts here and there. I've been listening to Everything Happens by Kate Bowler, which has been a really nice addition.
Very nice. I didn't know that there was a new Florence and the Machine album, so I'm definitely
Now
gonna
you know.
check that out.
Let me tell you, it is chef's kiss amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I haven't really known about new music since, I don't know if you all remember 95.5 WBRU, the radio station that used to play out of Providence.
I do.
It was an alt rock station, and it was like my go-to station from high school onward, and it went out of business in like 2015, I think. And ever since, that's like where my new music has stopped, and I've just been listening to my own playlist since then. So that's good to know that there is some new music that I should check out.
This is the only new music I know about, so I've now exhausted my knowledge of new music.
Fair enough. Yeah, what have I been watching? Well, my husband has never really watched Gilmore Girls, and he has heard me talk about it incessantly. So we are currently binging Gilmore Girls from the beginning, and he's quickly realizing that it is where my entire personality came from. So, yeah, that's what we've been watching. And then I did borrow the DVD of Everything is Illuminated from the library. So as soon as I finish the book, I'll be rewatching the movie, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure I remember liking it, but it was so long ago. We'll see if I still like it or if I
find out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that segues us into the main portion of our episode. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the Alcove?
Awesome. So the Alcove just opened our doors in January of 2026. So we're off to an amazing start. We are a cultural center and community hub. We foster community for women and gender expansive people through our public programs like our speaker series and also our biographical library and our portrait gallery. And we offer meeting and gathering areas designed for renewal, connection, and shared momentum. So we bring people together to break down silos, to imagine a new world, to create a sense of respite and connection and community care. And we know that our impacts will continue to ripple outside of this building, across the state, and across the region, because we are building something new and magical and transformative.
It sounds pretty amazing. I know I was reading on the website that it's home to one of the world's only permanent galleries dedicated entirely to portraiture of women and gender expansive people. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about this gallery and the portraits.
Yeah, so our portrait gallery, so for our inaugural exhibition show, it is titled Founders and Inventors Who Shaped Our World. So we have all of our subjects on the walls who are women and gender expansive people who have founded multiple organizations and companies and hold multiple patents for their inventions. And we have commissioned those pieces from locals, from Rhode Islanders. And even some of those subjects as well are Rhode Island subjects. So we're really proud of that as well. And I always tell people when they walk into our space, like, you don't know what you don't know. So when you come in and you learn about all of the, amazing women and gender expansive people who have made amazing contributions to their fields, you think to yourself, like, how come I don't know any of these people? For instance, there's the inventor of the gas furnace, who is a woman. So her patent is still available online for us to view, but most people don't actually know who she is and what her name is. The godmother of rock and roll is, a woman, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Most people know who Elvis Presley is, who Chuck Berry is, but not enough people know Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who actually wasn't even inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame until 2018. So not even
Wow.
in her lifetime, she was able to get the credit that she deserved. So the Portrait Gallery serves as a way to combat that, to address that and undo, being slighted for the work that you deserve and giving credit back to those people.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that the portraits were commissioned by the Alcove
Mhm.
for Rhode Island artists. How can you tell me a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so for this inaugural exhibition, we actually worked with the Dirt Palace. So there was an open call, and they acted as project managers. So we were able to, put out that open call and through all these amazing artists by way of, like RISD. We have a lot of RISD students or alum, and even folks who have been artists for a long time, who even had personal connections to some of these subjects. So that's also very powerful that we like to point out. But yeah, so we did this by way of open call, and we're very, very proud of our selection of artists.
Very cool. And I know that you also mentioned the library, which features biographies documenting more than 2,000 lives from Rhode Island and around the world. Is the library a lending library, or can you talk about like how people can come and read those books?
Yeah, so for both the portrait gallery and the biographical library, it is completely open to the public. So anyone can come in and take a look at the art, browse the books. But we also have a membership model. So people who are actually members can check out the books for 21 days at a time.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were excited to learn that we're one of only probably a handful of private lending libraries left in the region. And it's really exciting to foreground women and gender expansive history. And we're thinking about the in-depth knowledge about an individual's life, but also looking across lives and thinking about the cohorts and histories that we're a part of, thinking about the deep and rippling impacts we have across professions and across time and space.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It makes me wonder if, I don't know if you have any kind of like reading guides or something like that for like different topics, but I'd be curious to see, as far as the public library goes, where there might be gaps in our collection that
Mhm.
that we might find out about through your very specific library.
Yeah, we do have our online catalog, which is open to the public. So even if you wanted
Okay.
to browse our collection before coming in, you absolutely can take a look at our catalog. It's broken down by specific industries, and within the industries, you could also view different specialties. So, for example, we have a whole category on women in STEM. So you can definitely browse that whole category and find the different chemists and bioengineers, all of that. So the catalog kind of serves as a master list for all of those biographies that you might not be able to find this list anywhere else.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm definitely going to check that out personally and share it with our nonfiction selectors here at the Coventry Public Library, but I'm sure other libraries around the state would also love that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm glad we're chatting. Hopefully they'll listen to our episode. So I know you said it's open to the public and then you have a membership program. Can you talk a little bit more about the membership program?
Sure. Do you want
Sure. So membership is meant to be incredibly accessible and affordable. We offer a sliding scale, and the idea is that our members are part of what sustain this organization, but also are creating intentional community together. One of our founding members just described the idea of having intentional collisions with amazing people that she maybe hadn't met before or hadn't seen in a long time. And what's exciting is that when people come here to the alcove, they leave some things at the door. They tend to not lead with their job titles or their accomplishments, but they really meet each other as individuals. And it's in that human to human connection that all kinds of exciting threads emerge. And we're watching in real time as businesses are getting built or civic engagement projects are coming to be or new relationships and friendships are kind of blooming. And it's really exciting to see just what happens when you come to be part of a community versus come to maybe more traditionally network. That still happens, but through a different lens. So we're all about the collective.
Very cool. And I didn't think to ask this right at the beginning, but how did you both, I know you're both librarians, how did you end up getting involved with the Alcove?
I'll let you go first, and then it'll be a smooth transition to what I have to say.
Yeah, before the Alcove, I was running the Special Collections Library at Brown, the John Hay Library, which was an incredible experience. And as I was transitioning out of that role, this opportunity became available, and it was a sort of once in a lifetime opportunity to start something from the ground floor up. I've spent my entire career in institutions that have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so to really contribute in an indelible way to the community was really exciting. And I have learned so much. I've gotten to use only a small portion of my library knowledge and have grown a whole bucket full of all kinds of other knowledge, from insurance to marketing to everything in between. And one of the great joys was shortly after I started, and before this building was even complete, and before we had almost anything in place, I got to hire some brilliant staff, including Khamry Varfley here.
You flatter me. So before the Alcove, I was the entrepreneur specialist for community libraries of Providence. So I was always working with entrepreneurs, artists, small businesses, and in programming for CLPVD. So when I came across the Alcove, it was kind of by accident. I was on LinkedIn and I saw a bunch of familiar faces or like mutuals. So I started to repost a little bit about the Alcove. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I'm interested in the mission, and this looks like something that'll be really great. So when I had looked a little bit deeper into it, and I remember thinking, where is this going? Where is this place going? Because I've been born and raised in Providence, and I know everything that happens here. Mm-hmm. So I was really surprised that there was something that I didn't know about. So when I was reading through the mission and the job descriptions, and it was basically all of the things I was interested in one place. So it was all of, I get to be the person who's in charge of the books, which is something I've been doing for years. I get to be the person in charge of the art. And like I mentioned, I'm an artist. So I was very excited to see that at the top as well. And I'd be in charge of, programming alongside staff, which again, something I've always been passionate about, something I've already been doing. So it kind of felt too good to be true to see all of these things with the mission that aligns with me. So I was very excited to be a part of the team and being able to be part of, founding staff who can bring this vision to life. So I always say it started as an accident, but such a beautiful thing that came from it. I'm very excited and I feel very lucky.
That's great. It feels like a very unique opportunity. So it's fantastic that you guys both found it and that it worked out well.
For sure.
So I know there's events at the Alcove. Can you talk about any upcoming events or what types of events that you host?
Yeah, so I always like to shout out our Beyond the Bio speaker series. So it'll feature a bunch of women and gender expansive people who we invite to speak on their personal stories. And we call it Beyond the Bio because we want folks to come in and talk about something that we can't easily find on their LinkedIn or can't easily find on Google, like something deeper, something that is more community centered, something that's not a lecture, and we can come in and have those community conversations, have an actual discussion. So those are one of our signature programs, and we host those monthly. So definitely you could check us out to see that whole program series for the year on our website. And we also have our regular book club that meets bi-monthly. So we also share a full list of books for that as well. What are some other signature things that we have? I just felt like we've been doing so many different things.
We're doing a lot of programming in partnership, which is really exciting. So this will probably already happen by the time this podcast comes out, but we were having a partnership with Ballet RI to have an artist talk about their upcoming ballet Machinal. We're working with Sojourner House on an open mic night for survivors. We're just thinking about different ways that we can be true space for gathering and convening across related missions. So we have some things in the works around climate and the environment. We have we're working with the Rhode Island Women's Bar Association quite extensively. So really open for all kinds of partnerships and the programming that emerges from that.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I'm glad that someone still cares about ballet. I heard recently that maybe
oh my God.
some people don't care about ballet or the
timing.
opera. Yes, that's great. That is very good timing. So can anyone attend these events? Are these also open up to the public?
Yes, so we do have a mixture of our public program. So that's both our members and the public can come in. So that includes our Beyond the Bio speaker series, that includes our book clubs, that includes the collaborative event with Ballet RI. And there are some programs that we also have specifically for members, but for the most part, we do try to keep a balance and a mixture of those programs.
And where can listeners find out more about the Alcove and any events they might be interested in?
Yeah, so we're on social media. So for Facebook and Instagram, it's the Alcove RI. And then there's also our website, alcoveri.com. .org, thank you. alcoveri.org.
And on the website, you can sign up for our newsletter, which comes out quite not too frequently, but just frequently enough to keep you informed, and includes our events. We also have some great educational content about women's history, gender expansive history, and yeah.
And then so on our website, there's the full library catalog, there's our full events calendar, and we also make it a habit to add our archive newsletter pieces. So if you did want to look back at our newsletters, if you were interested, you could also do that as well.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know that we might not have talked about yet?
Well, definitely come by to visit us at the Alcove. We're at 189 Broadway. We are open Tuesdays through Saturdays. So most days 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Thursdays 1 p.m. To 7 p.m. So definitely come by. Like I mentioned, the Portrait Gallery and the library is open to the public. So we'd love to see you all.
Very cool. I'll have to stop by sometime whenever I'm in Providence. Well, we wrap up our show with a segment called The Last Chapter, where we talk about a library or bookish related question. And today I wanted to ask, for three librarians, we probably don't buy that many books. What is the last book you bought, and have you read it yet?
Oh, okay. See, I know it's like a no-no to buy so many books as a librarian, but I simultaneously have a bunch of holds ready for me at the library, and I also still go purchase a bunch of books.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, I went to the romance bookstore in downtown Providence, and they have a bunch of fun categories. So I think I wrote like 3 different titles, but I told myself I was going to read this one called Between Lovers and Friends. So it's like a love triangle, and it's a queer love triangle. So I'm very excited to start reading that one.
That's awesome.
Yes, I try to be super disciplined in my own book buying, and I tend to buy more for my kiddo. We're in the middle of Warrior Cats, which is like, 10 out of 10. But when I do buy books, I enhance my own collection of poetry. And so the most recent volume I bought is called Little Alleluias, and it's a compilation of Mary Oliver's poems by, who is the compiler? I've forgotten, but it's an incredibly beautiful volume. And I think at this time it's just a way to tune into nature and a sense of beauty and wonder. And I've carried it around so much, it's now covered in like water and all kinds of things, but well loved. I treat my library books much more carefully.
Well loved.
Yeah, that's fair. I never want to bring a library book with me on vacation because I'm always nervous about, if it's going to get like shoved in a carry-on or something like that. I'd much rather take my own books, and I write in my own books, and I don't follow the rules in my personal library that I do for a regular library. Yeah. Similarly, I think the last book that I actually bought was some children's books for my friend's son. My friend her son had some speech delays, and he is not quite reading at the level that he should be. And she was telling me that he doesn't really enjoy reading. So I asked our head of youth services here at Coventry if she had any recommendations, if someone came into the library asking what she would recommend. And she suggested these easy reader comics that are really like low barrier to entry, and kids tend to enjoy reading the comics if they don't love reading like a narrative. And I got a couple of them for her son for Christmas, and she said he loved them so much that he keeps rereading them and he's like understanding what's happening in the story. So I bought a bunch more for his birthday. So I think that's the last book I actually purchased. But for an adult book, I think the last book I purchased was actually a vintage Jell-O cookbook from the Rhode Island Antiques Mall.
Wow.
I personally love the affinity for strange Jell-O recipes that was going on in like the 60s and 70s. I have like a whole Pinterest board that's just weird Jell-O. I'm sure it all tastes horrible, but I just think it's so like whimsical,
Bring
and
Quincy back. Bring the whiskey back.
Yes. Yeah. So I go to the Rhode Island Antiques Mall in Pawtucket pretty regularly with my husband because there's so much to see there. It's almost like a museum where you can touch things. And I found a Jell-O cookbook from the 60s and I was like, that's mine. And so I think that's the last book that I actually purchased. And I haven't technically read it or cooked anything from it yet, but I plan to find something that seems palatable enough to make.
That's wonderful.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed this chat and I can't wait to check out the Alcove. It sounds like a really amazing place.
Yes, please come visit us. We'll be here.
And thank you for the invitation. So lovely to talk with you.
Great. Overdoing It is proud to be a resident partner of the Rhode Island Center for the Book and brought to you by library staff and community members all around the Ocean State. The project has been funded in part by the Rhode Island Office of Library and Information Services. If you'd like to share your answer to our last chapter question, send us an email at overdoingitpod@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at overdoingitpod. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review us to help us reach more Rhode Islanders. Thank you for listening, and this has been another episode of Overdoing It, the Rhode Island Library Podcast. We are overdoing it, but you're doing just fine.